my issue with Primoz in this tour is his attitude and his, like relaxed attitude. Like, we'll see. I don't care. He said several times, I don't care. Which if I'm his team boss or the sponsor, I would be furious.
Well, also think about his teammates. They've just spent like weeks at altitude camp away from their families. Yeah, that would be dispiriting.
Hi, I'm Spencer Martin, along with Johan Bruyneel, and this is Outcomes. Outcomes is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Nothing in this podcast should be considered financial advice. Please gamble responsibly, and if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, seek help from a professional resource. Hosts and guests may have financial interest in the bets discussed. Past performance does not guarantee future results.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Outcomes. I'm Spencer Martin. I'm here with Johan Bruyneel. We are predicting Stage 6 of the Tour de France. I'll go through the odds, and then we'll get Johan's take on who's going to win and how it plays out. But before I do that, I just want to remind everybody, if you're listening and thinking, wow, this is interesting, but I would love to actually bet myself. Well, we have a partner, NextBets. So if you go to nxtbets.com/betoutcomes, it will tell you exactly where you can bet, where you live, the best sign-up bonuses on each book, the best odds. I highly recommend it. Again, that's nxtbets.com/betoutcomes. There's also a link in the show notes. But Johan, the favorite for tomorrow, which is a 201 kilometer stage, very difficult, by the way, about 11,000 feet of climbing. I overheard on the move this morning, just up and down all day with a very tough climb before the finish. And then it finishes up a steep pitch, not a classified climb, but probably should be. It's quite hard. The favorite is Tadej Pogačar at plus 250, Mathieu van der Poel at plus 600, Jonas Vingegaard plus 1,800, Romain Grégoire plus 1,800, Wout van Aert plus 2,400, Julian Alaphilippe plus 2,500, Ben Healy plus 2,900, Nielsen Palace plus 2,900, Mauro Schmid plus 3,100, Kevin Vauquelin plus 3,300. It goes on and on. We'll call them out when we need to. But Johan, how is this yet again a classics-like stage? How is it going to play out?
Yeah, long stage, 201 kilometers, 7 climbs in total, from Bayeux to Vire-Normandie. Unfortunately, Spencer, I have to repeat myself with this kind of terrain. And after what we've seen yesterday and today, this is Pogačar terrain. Some people say, okay, it could be a breakaway. There is a possibility, okay, that's for sure. But normally, the way I see this, there's going to be a break, and there's going to be a lot of tension in the peloton. It's only stage 6. It's up and down, so positioning is constantly important. There's going to be a lot of instructions from the car. Be in the front, be in the front, be in the front. And only those instructions and that tension builds up in the peloton. And automatically it's, 47, 48 kilometers per hour cruise speed. So that also makes for that the breakaway cannot take a lot of advantage. The final is very similar to yesterday. There's a climb with the cresting with 5K to go. Not an easy climb. It's 1.2 kilometers, 7%, but the first part is 11%. So the peloton is going to want to be, and the teams will bring the guys to the front. And then with 4K to go, it's a bit of downhill. And then the last kilometer is uphill, and the last 700 meters are actually at 10%, so that's quite steep. There's even a pitch of 14%. This is Pogačar terrain again. I think it's if it's that hard for the moment, it doesn't really matter if it's 500 meters a kilometer or 15 kilometers uphill. There's nobody who can beat Pogačar uphill right now. So I'm going to pick him at plus 250.
Yeah, it's a rare spot to be in. You're right. It could be this. It could be the Fenestra, or it could be this climb, which is 1 kilometer long, but it's the same outcome. It's Pogačar. I'm also going to go with him. I found he's at plus 250 right now on FanDuel, I believe. Or no, FanDuel and Bet365. But someone emailed in. They're like, "How do you guys know if it's going to be breakaway or not?" It's like, well, we don't really know. We're just taking our best guess. But there's a confluence of factors. I think maybe you didn't say this, maybe you did, but the time trial, like an effective rest day today. So everyone who wants to be in the break took it easy, but we're still so early in this. But that also means the domestiques took it easy. And then there's a sprint point 22 kilometers into the stage. Little Trek will keep it together until that sprint point, so Jonathan Milan can sprint. Then there's basically a 6K long 4% climb right after that. That's going to be nuclear fast because the breakaway is going to try to go there. If it doesn't get away, then there's another climb. It's going to try to go there. It will get away at some point, but it probably will take a long time. They'll be tired. They'll be easier to pull in. And then there's 4 climbs in the last half of the stage. And as we saw yesterday on those, like the GC teams will be so keyed up to be first into it, and they'll race it so hard, they'll just start taking chunks of time out of the breakaway, and they could catch them almost by accident. And I think there's going to be a cross tailwind, which will also make them nervous. Everyone will want to be at the front if they're cruising along at 50K an hour. It's just hard for a break to build up a big enough gap. I mean, even think on that second to last climb, how much time they're going to take out of a breakaway. Like if they're going 700 watts for 2 minutes, they're going to take some time out of them. It's just going to be...
not just on the climb, but especially the approach to the climb. There, the peloton goes double fast. And we could see, for example, yesterday, Visma was doing a great job of lining it up to make sure that Jonas was in the front. But in those 5 kilometers, that's like, okay, it's like 1.5 minutes on a breakaway with that speed. So it's true, though. It's stage 6 today after the time trial. There's tired bodies, and there's also good bodies that save themselves specifically for tomorrow. But still, breakaway is going to be difficult. So let's both make sure that we get Pogačar.
Yeah, it's not a sure thing, obviously. Like, bet responsibly, but you rarely are living in an era with a rider like this and this stage this early in a Grand Tour, and a Grand Tour he's this good at. I think he almost reluctantly wins this, but if he gets there and there's no breakaway, he'll race it and he'll probably win because Van der Poel, as good as he is, can't stay with him. But Johan, if something does go odd, if something odd happens, are there any wild cards you like?
I mean, there are wild cards. I think, first of all, even if it's all together, or the majority of the favorites are together and the punchers are there, there's only one rider, in my opinion, who could potentially beat Pogačar on a 700 meter steep climb like this. I have my doubts, but there's one rider who could do that. That's Mathieu van der Poel. Plus, and that's why I'm going to pick him as my wild card, he can also be in the breakaway and win from the break.
Yes.
So I think with Van der Poel, we're betting on two scenarios, and he's plus 550. So I think that's kind of the alternative to the Pogačar scenario.
I actually just found him at plus 700 on Caesars. So I'm putting that bet in right now. But I like Van der Poel as a wild card because, as you say, if a break does go away, he could be in it, and that's UAE would probably like that. If he could get back in the yellow jersey, they'd think that's awesome. Yeah, he's the only rider. Like, I'm trying to think back to 2021 when he won on climbs similar to this, a little bit longer than this, but he beat Pogačar.
Yeah.
It has happened, but it seems hard for it to happen now because Pogačar is just that much better.
It's not the thing is, Spencer, it's not the same Pogačar. Pogačar is just so much better than 2021.
So it's a wild time we're living in. But I think in that we should say, because Pogačar is a plus 250 favorite, it's not like today where the favorite was Remco Evenepoel at minus 380. That doesn't leave you a lot of room for your wild cards. You have to be super judicious about how much you put on them. You don't want them to eat into your small profit margin. With Pogačar at plus 250, we have a little bit more room to work. You can throw a little bit of money on Van der Poel. I'm going deep into left field here. I found Quinn Simmons at plus 5,000. Quinn Simmons, who just won a stage at the Tour of Switzerland, plus 5,000 at the book is Caesars. So I'm going Quinn Simmons plus 5,000. That's probably a breakaway bet. In theory, I mean, if something got really tactical, I guess he could get away. He's one of the strongest riders in the peloton, but the problem is even if you're like one of the strongest riders in the peloton, you're still not that strong compared to Pogačar. So if Pogačar really goes up against him, he won't win. But if something strange happens in the finale or a breakaway, Quinn Simmons could win. Yeah.
No, that's a good one. I mean, there is a potential scenario. It's going to depend on, I would assume the intention of UAE would be, okay, let a breakaway go. It's usually also even if it's not for the yellow jersey, it's usually also a calmer approach to the finish because the bonifications are gone. right? If there's a breakaway.
Yep.
So it has a lot of advantages for UAE to have a breakaway to the finish. But I think personally that the stress of the race will take care of the breakaway.
That's probably right. But Quinn Simmons at plus 5,000, you can just throw a little bit of money on him. And if he wins, that's actually, I got Matteo Jorgensen to win the whole race at plus 5,000. Probably better chances of Quinn Simmons winning this stage than Matteo Jorgensen winning the whole Tour de France. So that's probably a pretty good investment for a small amount of money. But let's take a quick break. Then we'll talk about the head-to-heads. And you've been on fire with those lately, so you're going to want to stick around for those. All right, Johan, the head-to-heads for today's stage. I think you got all but one right yesterday. It's rare, very rare to sweep all of them. In theory, you could parlay that and you would get some insane return. So to get all but one is quite good. So for today, this is on FanDuel in the US. Tadej Pogačar minus 235 versus Matthew Van Der Poel plus 172. And this is interesting because it comes into play even if the breakaway is away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Pogačar. Yeah.
I guess Van Der Poel could be in the breakaway, but again, we don't think high likelihood of that. Remco Evenepoel minus 205 versus Matheus Skelmoza plus 150.
Remco.
Yeah, Remco does look pretty good right now. Romain Grégoire minus 186 versus Kevin Vauquelin plus 138. I considered both of these people for the stage, by the way, but yeah.
Well, I mean, listen, if Pogačar and Mathieu are there, they can't win. They're punchy.
And Vauquelin can't be in the breakaway. He's too.
No, Grégoire can be in the break. In that case, I think it's then the breakaway needs to make it to the finish. And another thing could be Grégoire. I read an interview of him. He does have ambition for tomorrow. And
there's a chance he gets caught though, and then spat out, and Vauquelin beats him.
The thing is that if we could also, Vauquelin is less explosive than Grégoire, although he did finish 2 times second on Muur de Huy in the Flash Wallon already.
I know, isn't that crazy?
The thing is, Vauquelin could probably pay the efforts of the time trial a bit because he went really deep, and Grégoire didn't. So that could be the difference tomorrow in the final. The question is, once they see, obviously Vauquelin is going to, try to lose the least amount of seconds towards Pogačar. Grégoire, once he sees once he blows up, he's gonna try to be there. Once he blows up, he's gonna sit up on that steep climb. So I'm gonna go for Vauquelin.
All right, I like it. Positive plus 138. These are my two favorite. Matteo Jorgensen minus 116 versus João Almeida minus 116. Two guys that want the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Help their leader and finish as high up as possible.
Yeah. I'm wondering what happened to Matteo Jorgensen in the time trial. That's not a good day. So if there's something wrong, I don't know. But personally, I think that Almeida will do a bigger effort than Matteo Jorgensen because the objective of Visma is going to be not lose time. So both Jonas and Matteo can be there and try to lose the least amount of time. If Almeida is there, which I suspect he will be, he will need to lead out. He will need to set the tempo, a fast tempo on the last climb, the 700 meters. Now, we've also seen that when Almeida puts the tempo, there's maybe 3 or 4 riders who can follow.
When he let out yesterday and he still finished in front of Jorgensen.
Yeah. In Jorgensen's defense, he tried 2 attacks also. So he did spend quite a bit. Jorgensen.
Okay. Primož Roglič minus 1. Jorgensen also, this maybe is too early to talk about it. Maybe this is taboo. Jorgensen might also have to start thinking about limiting his own losses because he might be the GC leader of that team. No. Primož Roglič.
No, he's not. He's not going to be GC leader.
Well, maybe what if there's like a plumbing issue at home for Pogačar for Vingegaard, and he has to go home mid-race to fix something around the house. Primož Roglič minus 172 versus Enric Mas plus 126. Primož for sure.
He surprisingly he didn't do a great time trial, but he finished surprisingly good. He did a really good second part of the time trial.
Don't sleep on Primož is coming back, and Bradley Wiggins had a good point in the studio today. He has not crashed yet, and that's like for Primož, he might as well be 10 minutes in the lead.
I'm with Primož. My issue with Primož in this tour is his attitude and his, like relaxed attitude. Like, we'll see. I don't care. He said several times, I don't care. Which if I'm his team boss or the sponsor, I would be furious.
Well, also think about his teammates. They've just spent like weeks at altitude camp away from their families. Yeah, that would be dispiriting. So, he might have gone full Primož here. He's gone too far with the relaxed thing. But I don't know. I think he might be in for a good second half of the race. I like him to beat Mas tomorrow.
Yeah, and
anything else?
Mas had a horrible time trial today also.
He had a great first 3 stages though.
And and it can change pretty quickly in the Tour de France.
Yeah. Anything else, Johan, before we take off?
No, that's it.
All right. We will talk tomorrow. Have a good evening.
Okay. Thanks, Spencer.